what I love about your story and when you're explaining about all the different people that put in calls for you at various point and, Taz helping bringing you into the ECW, etc., is I think one of the things that's overlooked about wrestling is just what a brotherhood it is. Like, this is something that I've been very much exposed to through doing this show, is just how everyone just helps one another. I think we have this outside looking in thing because obviously it's presented as such a hierarchical business where there can only be one champ and everyone is working towards the top. But my experience has been just all the boys just work together and help one another when there's opportunities.
Well, you know something, another thing too is like what people don't realize is, right? There was a time in wrestling where guys were going through hard times and guys would call me and I would try to help them, and they were having some difficulties and problems. And Vito always answers his phone for his brothers. I never asked nobody outside the business, never asked for no money, no nothing, just friendship. But if I called you and they looked at their phone, oh my God, Vito's calling. Something's up. Vito, what's up, man? How you been? We could pick up a conversation like we just seen each other yesterday. Hey, brother, I need a favor. I said, Vito, what do you need? Right? I'll give you one instance there. RVD, Rob Van Dam, right? So my wife was going through a hard time, and RVD had his company with all the supplements and everything. And I said, listen, my wife is in extreme pain every day. I need your help. Can you send me some of your stuff? He said, Vito, I'll send out a box tomorrow. He sent me a box a month until the company closed. I asked DDP. DDP called him. I said, DDP, I need help. My wife said, Vito, what can I do for you? He sent over DDP yoga. Anything else I could do? He even used to talk to her to try and get her to feel better. They're like Enzo. Like at the time when Enzo was in WWE and I had seen him in a couple of shows, I said, hey, would you mind talking about? Sure, man. And he heard that my wife is having a hard time. He took the time. And, people take the time. It's just like I extended myself to everybody in creation, you know what I mean? And then you get it back. It's like when I worked in WCW and I was working with David Flair on a regular. Arn Anderson would come up to me, Vito, you're the only guy who can make David look like a monster in there. He says, Rick really appreciates it. And I says, okay. So one night, I'm in the hotel. So Rick calls me over. I says, hey, Rick, what's going on? He says, you eat dinner yet? I says, no, I'm going to get something. He says, I'll come eat with my family. So David and Reed and Charlotte and Rick's wife, that is a thank you. That's respect. Do you know how many families in the wrestling business that I have sat down to have a meal with because I'm respectful? And people look at me and I got a chance to open the book of who Vito is and they say, I love Vito to death. He's a good person. You know what I mean? He's a good-hearted person. They took the time to know him. I can't tell you. I just came back from a good friend of mine, Tommy Fierro's ISPW, right? So I get to the show. It's the another guy, Warriors of Wrestling, Joe Bellini. I know him and I know Tommy since they were young guys. So they brought me in and they did everything. They said, Vito, I'm going to get you a hotel. I said, Tommy, it's late. I said, what are you going to do? He says, why don't you come sleep in my house? Now, back then, my wife and I and Tommy, his wife, and our group of friends, we used to sleep over each other's house at a time. Nobody had kids. I said, Tommy, I said, I appreciate it. I said, but you have a family now. I said, you have a child. I said, I don't want to impose. He says, Vito, he says, you're my family. He says, you can come. We still have the extra bedroom. I said, okay. I said, if you make sure it's okay with your wife, I says, then it's fine. So I wound up being best friends with his daughter. And I stayed over. My flight gets delayed. And I stayed over an extra night. I get to spend time with my buddy. But that's like love right there.
Yeah.
And then when guys come over, I had another guy who I met when he was 13 years old. He used to sell shirts in the mall when I used to go and buy my clothes. I'm still friends with him today. He came all the way out there to the show just to say hello, give me a hug. And all the young guys who were at this one, the Warriors of Wrestling, I helped break into business, and
Mm.
they all came around. Coolest thing of that show was it was the respect to the guys. It was the hugs and like, the thank yous and, the honor to be there. But one of the wrestlers, I will not mention his name, but the nicest thing, he says, Vito, I want you to take my envelope. And I looked at him. I said, you want to take your envelope? I said, what? He says, I know you're going through some hard times with your wife. I says, I want you to have my envelope. I said, bro, so I can't take that. He says, yeah, Vito, I want you to have it. You're always helping the guys. You always do. I said, I love you. I appreciate you. Your friendship means more to me. I said, I know we were talking. I met him at GNC when he used to be manager at GNC. He was 20 years old. Here he is trying to give me his envelope. You know what I mean? Like, Vito, I want you. I said, bro, put it in your pocket, man. I'm good. I said, everything's good. That's respect and love. That's like,
Yeah.
that's what you want. And that's the kind of stuff you want. All the money and the fame and the glitz and glory, that's icing on the cake. But if you got the respect from the boys, as a man, you really did something good in the wrestling business.